So good evening, ma'am. So today I'm gonna show you the website about introduction quiz. So as you can see, we have the number one first question: what is the capital of the Philippines? So if I click C, Manila, that is the correct answer. It will show correct and it will add score. So let's go to the next question. So the number two. So what are the capital of Japan? So if I answer incorrect, it will show incorrect and the score will stay the same. So the next question is, what is the capital of South Korea? If I answer incorrectly, it will still showcase incorrect and the score will remain 1. So here are the summary of your quiz. So it will show the overall of your score. So let's go to the HTML. So in HTML file, so we have the doc type. We declare it as HTML so that the browser can tell that this is an HTML file. So we have the basic structure. We have the head and the body. In the head, it contains the meta charset, and also the title and the link. So the link to connect the different file here so that we can use the style CSS. So we can use it to style our website. So in the body, it contains the different elements. So here we have a div class. So it is a container for the quiz. So we have a h1 tag. So the h1 tag, it highlights the importance. So quiz game. So the next part is about the different parts in the website. So the first one is the container for the question. So we have here the ID with a unique name question container, and also we have a class naming question. So the here it will pop up the question will appear here. So the next part is the container for the choices. So we have a unique ID choices container, and also for the class choices. So the next one is the feedback, the container for the feedback, where it says the correct and the incorrect. So the next one is the score, so it will indicate the score. And lastly, we have the button, so it will go to the next question. Outside the container, we have the script source so that we can connect our HTML to our JavaScript. Let's go now to the JavaScript. So first, we have the constant quiz. So we make our quiz an array, and in array we have a different object. The object contains a key and a value pairs. So in this code, we have a key of question, choices, and the correct answer, and each key contains a value. So which is the first is the question, what is the capital of the Manila, and the next one is the different choices, ABC, and lastly is the correct answer. The last two is similar but only differs in the different question and the choices and the answer. So next one is the declaring of a variable. So we have here the let current question. So this variable keeps track of the current question that the user answering. So it starts as a 0, so which corresponds to the first question. The next variable is for the score. So the var keeps track of the scoring of the user. The next one is about accessing the different elements in the HTML files. So first we have the cons. So we name it variable question container. So document get element by ID. So we are utilizing the ID of our HTML. So the unique ID is the question container. So the next one is we also have the choices container. So we also are utilizing the element ID. So the unique ID is the choices container. Also the feedback. So feedback, the variable, and it contains the value of the feedback. So it will get the ID with a unique ID feedback, and also the unique ID for the score. So next one is about the function for showing the difference question. So for the const queue, it will retrieve the current question from the quiz array. Then this variable q will contain the first question of our quiz. The next one is the question container. So it will update the question which the queue hold or what the queue contains. Next one is the choices container, that is inner HTML. So this code clears any previous displayed answer choices. And the next one is the queue.choices. So this loops over each answer choice in the choices array. So it will loop until the choices answer is found or correctly. And we'll proceed to the next question. So the next function is about checking the answer. So in this function, we declare a correct, which this variable will contain the correct answer of the question. After that question is being retrieved, so it will go to the condition if statement. It will compare the answer to the user and the correct choices. If the user answered the question correctly, it will display correct, and if the user answer incorrectly, it will display incorrect. And also if the user answer correctly, so the correct variable will be incremented to 1. So the next function is about disable choices. So if the user already selected an answer, the choices will be disabled. Next one is the button, which will go to the next question. So we have the incrementation of the question. So we also have the if statement. So we check if the question is quiz length. So if it is, there's still a next question. If there is, it will go to the next question. If the question is max, it will go to the function show final result. The function show final result is basically the summary of your quiz. It will show your overall score or your total score, and also the different celebration or the congratulations. So let's go to the next part of the file, so which is the CSS. So the first code of the CSS is we have the body. So first is the font family. So it will set the font family for the entire page, which the browser will use the first font if it is available. Otherwise, it will use the other available fonts. The next one is the background color, sets the background to grayish blue. And the next one is the next is the display. I use the flex, sets the body to flexbox layout. And also the justified content, it will center the content of our website. So the align item centers the content vertically in the middle. Also the height, this makes the take up the full height of the viewport. And the margin 0. The next one is the quiz container, so the styling of our container. So we have set the background color to white and the padding 30px and 240px. With the border radius 10px rounds the corner of the container with the radius 10px. The next one is the h1 tag, so margin bottom with the 20px, so add space below the h1 tag, and I set the color to dark gray. And for the question, I set the font size to 18px and the margin bottom 20, and the color set the color to gray. The next one is the choices. So display flex direction column. The gap is 10px and the margin bottom 20px. So for the choices button, so we have a padding of 10px. Set the border to none with the border of 6px. Button has a background color of light gray. And also we set the cursor to pointer when we hover onto the icon of the button. We add a little transition, background color, and setting the font size of 16px. So in feedback, we set the font size to 16, the margin bottom 15px, and the font weight bold. The next one is about the score. So we set the score font size to 16 and with the color 666 and the margin bottom 20px. The next button, so we set the padding 30 to 20 and the font size to 16 with the color white, and we also set the border to none and the border radius to 60px. And the cursor, we set the pointer when we hover to the next button, and we set a little transition to set to the background color. So that would be all for the presentation or the showcase of the interaction quiz.